thought it was over and they started heading for the hills. Except a few brothers and some sisters that saw that he was just unconscious and tried to save his life and fight the men off. And at that point, they were outnumbered, at least 5-1, but they're trying to fight for the Rasul's life, and the Rasul's not able to revive himself at the time, while everybody else is bailing. So he regains his consciousness. They help him up. He see him running, and he tells him, come back. That's why Allah say, you so busy running, you don't even hear the prophet calling your name in the rear. You so busy bailing out, you don't hear nothing. Prophet calling you back. You bailing on the Rasul. And we'll talk about this because sometimes we do this on our own projects. Not let alone the community. Stuff that we say we're going to start, we bail on our own stuff. So Allah is giving some wisdom here. So they're bailing. They finally gather themselves. They head up the mountain, and the Rasul is on his way up. But Allah in his infinite wisdom, before the Rasul is going to have a conversation with them, he's going to have a conversation with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and help him formalize what he's going to say to these battered, beaten, defeated men and women, soldiers. So Allah gives us, that's the context. So then Allah then says, and by the mercy of Allah, you dealt with them gently. That's the key word here. The reason that the prophet dealt with them gently is not of his own ability. It is that Allah gave him something that he needed at that moment. And as men and women and as leaders, that's our first lesson, is to understand that sometimes we won't have it. A lot of times we won't have it. But with Allah there to guide us, we'll have what we need when the time demands. But we can't abandon the process that is always the case. So we have to always be looking for his help, even when we think we have things under control. Because for sure, that is just an illusion. So in this particular example, Allah is giving that, if it wasn't for his mercy, you wouldn't have been able to deal gently with him. Then he said, had you been severe and harsh-hearted, then they would have broken away from you. So pass over their faults and ask Allah's forgiveness for them, and consult them in affairs. Then when you have taken a decision, put your trust in Allah. Allah loves those who put their trust in him. So here, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is being given a lesson, and by him being given a lesson, we're being given a big lesson about temperament. See, because here's the scenario here. Allah is asking him to show mercy when by all intents and purposes, he has every right to bring the rain. He gave a command. He's the leader. He's in authority. They're supposed to obey his command, and they did not do it. So now he's on his way up the hill, and so because that's what they do in business, right? They do when you start looking, what's the bottom line? So he suffered losses, not losses of just, people died. That's what they do. Okay, so people have actually died. One of them is one of his relatives, not to mention. But and one of the archers who left the post was one of his cousins. This is great. It gets really, really juicy, right? So Allah then is telling him, and the word that is used, I want to go here. It says here, فَبِمَا رَحْمَةً مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنَتَّى لَوَانَ لَوَاتٌ. So here Allah is saying, and the word that he uses for, if he didn't make you relax, is the same word in medicine they use for laxative. So Allah said, if he didn't make you completely calm down and loosen up your mental approach, you would have made a mistake. So Allah is helping us with our mental psyche and helping us to understand how we can put ourselves in a situation where we don't overreact to a situation and cause people to disconnect and disengage and don't want to have nothing else to do with you. Because the word that he uses here in the Quran was li'anfadu. That means you would have broke them. That's the same word that's used for broken glass. See, when you break a glass, glass is all over the place, right? Now, what does that mean? That means that the integrity of the glass has now been compromised. You can sweep it up, but is it a glass now? It's not a glass. You take the parts up, and they say, and they couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again. So the glass is out there, and glasses would be a similitude for what we call fallout. See, sometimes we think that as long as I say I'm sorry, all is good. But as Allah is telling you, there are some harm that you can do that sorry can't fix. That all the forgiveness in the world from the people can't fix their psyche because you have broken their psychology. And they can't come back together. But the only thing that can bring them back together is the will and the guidance and the light from Almighty Allah. Not you or me. It's the Creator that does those things. So in this particular context, Allah is telling us that if you were harsh with them, and this word ghalidh, that word means rough and big, where nothing can penetrate it. It's not just you being mad. Your psychology is to such a point that you can't even hear any excuse that they offer. Anything that they offer won't change your situation. That's Allah is guarding against that type of disposition. As a human being, we can never take that position. I don't care what they say. Problem number one, why don't you care? You're not Allah. You don't know all extended ways. They can't tell me nothing. Even if they tell me blah, 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 I'm still gonna. Allah is trying to help us because Satan is tricky. He'll make you make those absolute statements. And you didn't even hear all the facts. You didn't even know all the facts. You didn't even give yourself a chance to examine it. And you didn't even consult Allah and give him a chance to give you some external guidance outside of what we're perceiving. So he's giving us this analogy, and he's saying that don't fix your mind and your heart and your soul so much so that you will come to a conclusion, and no matter what they say, your answer won't change. Allah says, if you would have taken that position, you would have broken their souls, and they would have run away from you and never come back. People leave and we think, oh, that's just fallout. Right? Your husband around there looking funny. Oh, he just got a bad attitude. Oh, really? Children, oh, they just this. And we look in it and we don't respond to the fact that it could be me. I might be the problem in my house. Can't be everybody else. Sometimes the problem is me. I'm complaining. I want new people in the house. Oh, yeah, man. And they want new people, too. oh, man. But that's it. Oh. Hey, baby, be happy. It's me. Get out of here. Get out of here. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm making this point because when we talk about leadership, what separates leadership in Al-Islam and leadership anywhere else is that in Al-Islam, leadership is in the private and public sphere, not just our profession. If I'm a leader in Al-Islam, I'm a leader everywhere I go, not just on my job. And not just at the masjid with all these beautiful people. I'm tied up in here, and when I get in the car, and I'm somebody else. You wouldn't even know that was me. After my son talking like that, you hear somebody talking, you swear that person didn't even have no faith at all. Oh, that's him, man. Oh, Lord, right? Stuck full of luck. Oh, man. Hey, man, I keep it 100. Allah wants us to have holistic families so that we can have holistic communities, so that we can have holistic neighborhoods, so that we can have holistic cities, holistic states, holistic planet, and then planets. So when Allah gives us the definition of leadership, it is truly and truly universal. So I want to give some examples here of how we can fix some of the problems that we have. What's my end time? Okay. So you the keeper over there? Okay. So let's look at some things. I had some notes of some things that I wanted to discuss. One of the things that I wanted to discuss is how to fix our families. So that's one of the things that I want to kind of talk about. And again, this won't be in the detail. It's just some things that we need to consider that we can have a better a family life. And one of the things that we have to do in order to fix our family, let's start with this. Love your spouse. That's unconditional. See, when you get married and you go through this counseling, you get Fahim or Qasim or Khalis or Wazir, or one of the things that you're going to get is where you understand your rights and understand your responsibilities. And some of us think we are only supposed to perform our responsibilities when we're getting our rights. I heard somebody sign off. Hey. See? So that's like prayer, right? Do I have to wait till I feel good about praying to pray? Doesn't matter. My toe can hurt or whatever. I hit it in. I have to stop whatever I'm doing and go make wudu or see if I'm in wudu. And I have to make my way to praise my Lord. Regardless of whether I made a nickel or made a sale or my wife kissed me on the cheek or my daughter is behaving like an excellent daughter or not, sometimes those things don't happen. You still have to pray. So if my husband is not necessarily, he ain't wrote me a poem today. I don't cook the soup like I have enthusiasm. I just make it any kind of way and say he better be glad he ain't have to cook it himself. He better be happy. Huh? Yeah, you do a half job and you tell him he ought to be happy. Oh man, or vice versa. He come in there, he tired, he half pay attention. Well, yeah, better be happy I came in the house. Is that the limit of my expectations? That I should be happy that you even showed up? These are the things that we say to each other, right? In the ebb and flow of life. So you have to love your spouse. How? Compliment each other. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, hey, listen, I'm going to tell you something. You talking about a man's man? Look, he looked at his wife up and down. She knew he was looking at her too. All the time. Whether he had a great day out there in the community or not, he come home, he look at his wife, looking all up and down. Y'all know what the up down is. Yeah. And she loved it. Right? But they would have that relationship and it didn't have anything to do with whether he had any disease that day. A lot of times he was rejected. But when you hear his wives talk about him, that's like the greatest testimony. They talk about his disposition in the house. And one time, Aisha radiallahu anha, she said, man, they didn't have any spices, his favorite spice. She said they didn't have no spice. She gave him vinegar. He didn't like vinegar. She said, how's the food taste? He said, it's great. See, that's what I'm talking. He knew she didn't have what they needed. That was the best she can do. He don't like vinegar. He know the only reason she put in there because they didn't have nothing else. See, these are things that we have to keep in mind. And somebody said hikmah. See, the